If you have watched the news or YouTube at all in the last year, you've probably noticed a lot of people are leaving California. Since the beginning of the pandemic, people have been leaving California like never before, and it really hasn't slowed down all that much. I've watched a lot of these videos about people leaving, and it really does make you think, is it still worth it to live here? I actually grew up dreaming about living in California, specifically Southern California, and this is the first time in my lifetime I've ever seen such a movement of people wanting to leave California. And the number one place people are leaving for is Texas. I've never actually been to Texas, but I've spent hours looking at houses on Zillow in Texas, and you guys, I see the appeal. This house right here, if it was in LA, even in a bad area, would be at least 1.5 million. In a good area, probably 2.5 to 3. It being just at $1 million is much better than what you would get for $1 million here in LA. Low cost of living is of course a huge draw, but I want to get a sense of what it's like to actually live here in person. I think it's about time to see what all the hype is about. So today, we are going to Texas. Honestly, I want to like Texas because you just get so much more for your money there, and you get to keep a lot more due to there being no state income tax. I do have to think though that there must be a reason most people are willing to pay more to live in California. It really is a great place to live, but I'm open to finding out if Texas is as good. I really just want to know if it's actually better there or if it's just cheaper. So let's find out. So I know Texas is huge, but I decided to go check out Dallas, but I know it can be very different depending on what city that you're in. Compared to LA, this city actually felt really clean and pretty safe. Keep in mind though, I was only in Dallas for a few days, so I didn't see every area. In some ways, it reminded me of a really big suburb. Things just felt really easy because there was parking everywhere, just more than enough parking, which you're not really gonna find in LA. You basically always have to pay for parking, and even when you are paying, some areas are still pretty difficult to even find a spot at all. I was a little shocked though at how much traffic there was in Dallas. I thought this was a reason people left LA because the traffic is so bad. So I know people complain about LA traffic, and that's one minor reason that they move, but what I found is every city has traffic. I mean, we're in Dallas right now, so it's 1 o'clock on a Friday, and honestly, there's kind of a lot of traffic on both sides. Traffic is just bad in every major city, so that doesn't really feel like a solid reason to leave California. So we see it all the time that everyone from California is leaving and going to Texas. As a real estate agent, how many people do you see really moving from California to Texas?
I think 8 out of 10 of my buyers in the last 6 months that were buying homes were from California. The 2 out of 10 were just repeat clients. Like I helped them with an apartment and now they're buying a house, or they already bought a house from me and now they want to buy another house.
Wow.
Like that.
So it really is a lot of people from California.
Oh yeah, a lot of people. And I like it. I know a lot of Texans like, don't California my Texas, but the more cool, chill people that we get around here that are just down to have a good time, I'm about it.
I initially thought people were moving because of the pandemic, but turns out with a little research, tens of thousands of Californians have been moving to Texas every year for the past decade. So it's really not a new thing. For a lot of people, it really does just come down to the cost of living. How much do you think this house would cost in a major city like LA, San Francisco, or New York? Most likely, you're looking at upwards of $2 million. But in Texas, a fraction of that. This house is on the market for $1 million, and when you compare it to my Palm Springs house, which after renovations is worth about the same amount, it's just insane the differences in how much space you get.
Shelby, welcome to Dallas, and welcome to 4811 West University Boulevard. Let's take a look.
Every single thing about this house was bigger than what you get in a city like LA. The ceiling height, the kitchen, even the closets and the bathrooms, all almost twice the size of what I usually see in LA.
All right, so as you walk in, this is what we call in Texas a farm style house. And then we have this huge vaulted ceilings. I'm gonna go ahead and say 30 feet. I don't know, but I would say it's about 30 feet. And then big old open concept house with huge windows.
It's so cool. You see this in houses in LA, but not until you're at the like $5 million price point.
I like how we're only like 50 square feet in the house and she's already like sold on this whole Dallas thing.
I mean,
this is what happens when Californians come to Texas. Most of the times whenever I have buyers coming in from different places, they're blown away that we can have this big of a center island. And so this is a huge center island, great for entertaining.
This, like even having this pantry, I think storage in LA is more of an issue, but here it's like more than enough. Like,
this is a very cool floor plan, like a really super modern floor plan, mixed with the old style traditional farmhouse feeling that I was talking about earlier. But from the front door, you can see all the way into the backyard, which unfortunately they didn't put a pool in, but it'd be really cool if they did.
dang.
So if you notice my body and scale of the backyard, it's massive.
Huge. Everything's bigger in Texas, especially the backyards.
And egos.
Not only is the living room and kitchen bigger, but there's also 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and a media room. So this room was technically the primary bedroom, but it was kind of hard to notice because really all the rooms are pretty big.
Honestly though, what's really selling me right now is the bathroom.
Yeah, the bathroom's crazy.
And it's not just this bathroom that's like this, all the bathrooms are huge. I'm not gonna lie, touring this house and seeing all the space you can get, I was kind of falling for this Texas lifestyle. This house in particular wasn't totally my style, but just all the space you can get is amazing to me.
But yeah, so that way you can have this whole area as an upstairs living room that still flows with the downstairs.
I mean, an upstairs living room, imagine having 2 living rooms in California. Like that is not happening, at least not under $1 million in LA or San Francisco, maybe a suburb. So all in all, the space you get, I'm thinking Texas looks pretty great so far. Like, you get 3 times as much space than you would get in LA. Living space is great and all, but do people like the lifestyle down here? I talked to Sara Diestchy, a tech YouTuber who just moved here from New York, about what she thinks.
You left New York. It's really similar to people leaving California. I feel like those are the #1 places people are leaving. So what was the thought process? Like, what was the last straw? Like, okay, I'm gonna move back to Texas.
It kind of was the moment where we're staying, we love New York, and then it's kind of just that one thing that happens. And I think it was, we were getting a new apartment. And every year in New York, it's kind of the thing where you try to get a little bit better apartment every year. You know, we thought we got a little bit of a discount, but we were still, okay, Shelby exclusive, we were paying $5,000 a month for this apartment in New York, which is like, to normal sane people, it's just like, what is your problem? And I understand that thinking. When you're in New York, this is our 5th year, we finally felt like, let's get that dream apartment, right? The moment of like getting our dream apartment, and it was perfect, it was in Murray Hill, right in the middle of Manhattan, and like literally feeling nothing. And kind of, we were just we couldn't get work done. It was the feeling of like there was no forward momentum.
I mean, we each have like dedicated sections now. Look at this.
I actually love having a little corner, and this is where now I can do more art projects, but in our last apartment we didn't have much room.
We didn't have any room that wasn't taken up by furniture.
And so there was a major feeling of being trapped that I have never felt in that city before. And it was so weird to be paying that rent, to have none of the benefits of New York, you know, like going out, going to conferences, having different YouTubers and business people that, you know, I have on my podcast, like come through the city, that stopped. So we had none of the benefits, like all of the anxiety of being in like a big city during a pandemic. It's funny, my fiance, John, he was like, we should probably move to Texas before I was, and I'm from Texas, he's not from here. And he just saw it as a place where he could like skate more too, which is good for him. And then I just needed my family. Having my family just the past few months has been huge too, because even all of our friends started moving in New York. We were kind of the last to leave.
Not only has Sara been able to get a lot more living space, but also a lot more office space for a new business venture.
Okay, so we're just filming over there, but this is actually the space that people are gonna rent out. So it's pretty crazy because this is $2,400 a month, the same price as my New York office, which was really small.
And like 10 times bigger than New York.
Oh yeah, this is like 2,700 square feet. You can just do whatever you want. So you could bring a car in, you could shoot videos, photos, large productions. So it's one of those things where it was a thing that motivated me to move back, because I started this project when I was in New York, and I was like, man, I could actually help a lot more if I was actually there. It's a business that is in the physical world, so it's just fun to do something different. This place that we're turning into a rental photo studio is the same price. It's $2,400. It's the same price per month that my New York tiny studio was.
What?
So in terms of just accessibility and being able to put the pedal to the metal and just be able to build new businesses is so easy here. John tried to rent an indoor skate park where it would just be like a warehouse like this. And the cheapest he could find, like deep into Brooklyn, was like $6,000, $7,000. And those were like for crappy warehouses that you would have to gut reno. Yeah.
One thing that really struck me about Dallas was just how clean it was. I didn't see any trash on the ground anywhere. It felt really safe. Like I felt like I could just have my wallet on the ground and not worry about somebody grabbing it. And I noticed other people actually doing that, something I'd never do in LA. LA is pretty dirty, honestly. This is just the reality of how it looks, to be honest, in a lot of places. Not everywhere, but a lot. LA does have a homeless epidemic, as do a lot of cities. This is definitely not unique to LA, but this is what a lot of the parks, freeway entrances look like, kind of the reality of how it is here. And I noticed a lot of people cited this as one of the more minor reasons they wanted to leave. And I will say in Dallas, I really didn't see any of this in the places I went.
In Dallas, you'll only see a homeless person if you go downtown at night, or if you go to Deep Ellum, you'll see a couple in Deep Ellum, but it's not a lot. Houston, you see a lot more than Dallas, but Austin is like a mini LA. They've got, I think, like 70,000 homeless people in Austin.
In most cases, Californians aren't heartless about this, but rather I've noticed a lot of people are just frustrated that a lot of taxpayer money has been spent on this and we've only seen it get worse.
I don't think people would leave solely because of this reason. I really do think it is more about taxes and financial incentives. I'm certainly not an expert on this topic. I definitely don't have the answers, but I think most people don't want anyone to suffer in this way. Their reason for leaving is more so frustration at all the money being spent that hasn't really helped. So hopefully that will change. It's a controversial topic, but I didn't want to ignore it because it is something that almost every video talked about, why they left. Okay, so after seeing what Texas has to offer, would I leave California? No, I wouldn't, but I do see the hype and I see why a lot of people are. You just get way more for your money in Texas, and it does feel easier to do things. There's parking everywhere, you know, you can save a lot more money. The taxes, like, I get it, I really get it. I do think a lot of the people that are leaving and going to Texas are either from Texas or they are families, because I feel like having a family in LA is just absurdly expensive. While it is true a lot of people have left California, as someone who's been here the whole time the past year, I've noticed a lot of people have actually moved here as well. Also, California loses people every year, and so does Texas. People left Texas as well. There is just a lot more to do in California. I think there's a reason people are down to pay the state income tax. There's just more to do. The weather's perfect. From what I gathered, I don't think people are moving to Texas necessarily because Texas is better. It's just cheaper. And at a certain point, I think people do want space. After living in an apartment for 10 years, of course people want to have a backyard. I think that's fair. I totally get it. Honestly, I liked Dallas a lot and I would totally go back to Texas. I actually really want to go to Austin. I really like both Texas and California. So that is going to be it for this video. Hope that you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.